Hey, this is Brandon Jones, author of the award-winning College Readiness 101 workbook series, here with another episode of the College Readiness 101 podcast. Now, today I have Miss Maxie. She is a phenomenal resource for me and for students and parents here in the Metro Atlanta area. I talk to her all the time. Miss Maxie, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Brandon, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. So, for those who are familiar with you, they know that you're a high school counselor here in Metro Atlanta, and you are always, a part of things that we do for my foundation. You've been a panelist, you've been a speaker, you've done all these different things for me, and I'm very much appreciative of it. But today, I want to talk about you being a parent, right? You being a mom, right? So that's a totally different conversation.
Yes.
Than you being a professional at helping students, transition from high school to college. And so you told me that your son is currently in college.
Well, he finished his last semester at Georgia State University, and we had an interesting path. He started out at Morehouse, then he transitioned to Georgia State, and then we ran into that roadblock. He's a professional dancer, so he's in the industry and he's really working, doing types of jobs that, people go to school for and train for. So he's already working on that. So that challenge as a parent was, having that critical conversation with him, when he decided, and that's kind of where we are now. Mom, school isn't for me. That's your dream. It wasn't mine. So Mom had to go take several seats. Because I'll be honest, I wasn't prepared for that conversation,
Yeah.
But, as a counselor, I had to take off that counselor hat and put on mom hat and really just think about it. Now, of course, some of those tools and strategies that I use as a counselor, I never put that toolkit up, but I had to really just sit, I had to listen to him. And then, he actually had a better plan than I did, and he showed me. He said, "Okay, I'll show you." Okay, so I allow him to do that.
Well, that's amazing. And you know what? To hear you say that, and we were talking about this episode, I thought it was just so valuable because I know that this is a conversation that's happening in households around the country. Right? Is parents had a certain plan for their child. Their child had a certain plan for themselves, and a lot of times that may not match up. Right. And so you, as unique because you're professionally a counselor, but you're a mom, right? So you have to figure out which hat to put on. So I'm excited about this conversation because this is for parents. When I work with parents are my favorite audience. I work with students all the time, but I feel like the parents are where you get the most impact when working with a student. And so I want your parents' perspective today.
Now, look, you will have it. I'm all yours.
All right. So take us back to the beginning. Kind of what were you doing with your son for college preparatory things? From when he was little to going through high school. What did that look like? From the beginning.
Well, I mean, just like any parent, when your child is young, you start to notice some of the things that they're interested in. And, me being a South Georgia country girl, initially we were doing baseball, we were doing football, we were doing, all the different sports. But I didn't see him get that excited about it, But, of course, my full-time job as a counselor, my part-time thing was dance, performing arts. So meantime, he didn't realize he was watching all that behind the scenes and he took a liking to that. So I had to detach from like, oh, well, he's not doing the, the typical things, with the sports being in a area like South Georgia, where all the boys do, football, basketball, so that's just kind of how it is. So I was like, oh, okay, he's really taking a liking to this. And I mean, he took a liking to it to a level that I had not, just working with other kids in the community that I had not seen before. So as a parent, I had to say, well, if it makes him this excited about it, then I need to, push him in a direction. And once I saw him do that, we started doing other things, other opportunities start going, coming into play where he got to travel, he got to meet other students in different areas and different locations outside of the city, outside of the state. He even had the opportunity to go out west and train for a month with Debbie Allen. So that was once I realized this is it as a parent, that was it. And that's what he wanted to do. then I start pushing him into every opportunity that will help building that. Now, was it a sacrifice? Was it a commitment? Absolutely. And as a single parent, I think I paid for a college degree before he started going to college with just investing into his dreams. But I would do it all again. So we did that. We transitioned through the activities, watching them flourish, like parents do. We see our children in sports and different things like that, and we see them flourish, and you really say, oh, this is something they really want to do. But then but in the back of my mind now, as a parent, he going to college. I never even never thought twice about it. Because I was one of the first in my family to go to college. So in my mind, hey,
college. That's what it is, college.
Hey, this is wonderful. I'm glad you're getting opportunities to do things on a profession. Awesome. But in my mind as a parent, you going to college. So, fast forward, he was exposed to college at an early level. He did some college courses in high school, and then he went on freshman year, he didn't make that connection. So he was like, I can tell, so you can kind of pick up when something is a little different and something going on. I didn't see that flicker, that drive that I saw when put him into dance and introduced him to that world. So I was like, well, why isn't he having that connection, to this the way he is to that? So boom, transition sophomore year. I say, okay, well, let's change schools. Let's go to a school that, focus a little bit more in the area, you're passionate about professional dancing, the entertainment industry. So boom, let's try Georgia State. Georgia State has a film and theater program. Okay. So I was like, okay, we still talking college. So he was still on board. I was still driving the car though. He wasn't. I ain't gonna lie. I was driving. Sometimes we have to do that as parents. We have to drive.
Yeah.
So I'm still driving the car at this point, but as a counselor, as a mom, I always taught him, to speak up, advocate for himself, speak up for what he wants. And he had that comment. I never forget, sitting in the living room. He said, Mom, but I don't like school. I think I almost passed out. But I said, what do you mean? Explain it a little bit more. Well, college is your dream. It's not mine. And it looked like he did research and the math and all of that. He said, well, right now I'm already working in the career that I want to work in, and I'm making money, and there's things that I want to go, and what I really want to do, he wants to be into creative directing. But most schools, they have the film and theater, but they don't have the concentrations like creative directing, like what you would see on a movie set or a music show. Okay. He can get the general feel, but he was like, I'm already getting the hands-on. He connected early. Everybody don't have that opportunity, but that was one of the things that really helped me as a parent. I was blessed because I was so passionate about that particular area, that he's interested too. I was blessed to be able to help him connect with some things early. So a lot of those things that he's getting all the training hands-on, and he was like, this is what I want to do, and I want to focus on that. And I feel like if I had more time to do that and pursue that full force, then I can be as successful as I would want to be. And he pretty much told me school was a distraction for him. Now, me, by then I probably almost was unconscious at that point.
you can't tell an educator that. Right? You can't tell an educator that.
Right. I was like, what? But I thought about it, and I had to really look at, well, I gave him the platform and helped him and supported him. So that's what parents do. That's what we're supposed to do. You give them that opportunity to make that decision on what they wanted to do. But in the midst of all of that, and I can't remember, I was reading something. What is it? If you fail to plan, your plan will
fail. Yep.
Right. So in my mind, I'm thinking, what's the plan? My son is named Chris. I said, what's the plan, Chris? What's the plan? I said, you're going to have to show me the plan. That's the only way that I will, support you in your endeavors and your dreams, and not give you, you have to give them that tough love. Like, okay, you want to do it your way, then you can do it on your way. So that was that conversation. But I'm proud of him. He's doing his things. His doors are opening, and it's working for him. Have I given up on that college thing? No,
probably not.
And of course, I tell any parent, look, you gotta just stay in their ear, just continue to encourage them, but you can do that and still support them to a point where they won't pull away from you and not come to you at all. So
yeah, it's so funny to say that in my workbook series for the parents, the parent series, I talk about what the parents, role is in preparing the child, and it's exposing, providing access, and supporting. And I feel like
money.
Well, but you've done that.
Right.
It's not necessarily just in college, but you've exposed them to, dance and entertainment, right? Because that was a passion of yours. You've provided him access to opportunities, and then you are supporting, what he's deciding.
Right.
And so I think that's really cool, because juxtaposition of your story. I grew up. My mom went to junior college and then transferred to Florida State. My stepdad, my dad played football in Morrisburg. My stepdad went to mortuary school. This family owns a funeral home, and so college was always the plan. Growing up, my mom always told me that college would be the best time, the best years of your life, right?
Right.
And it really was, and I had an interest in going to college, right? But it looks like Chris had an interest in working and following a creative passion that he has. And so it's so interesting to hear, the different ways that how things turn out. Right.
Right.
So yeah. And he's making money with something he wants to do. There's a lot of people that go to college and they don't work in their field and then they're unhappy with making money with where they're at,
Yeah. And I've seen some of the checks. I'm like, I had to do the math. Like, I had a master's degree and you worked a week and did what? Okay. But I mean, things are different now. The Atlanta, I mean, this area in Georgia is like the new hub for the Georgia and the film industry. So those opportunities, and I even tried to use I haven't put this handle on them yet, but I say, the Georgia and film industries are pairing up with a lot of colleges in Georgia. So you need to go back to school so they can pay you more. I hadn't put that one on them yet, but that's next. That's next.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you to put on an advisor's hat, right? Okay. So you are a few steps ahead of some parents who are going to be, helping prepare their child to go to college or their household, and so I want to ask you to kind of give a little bit of advice to those individuals who are coming behind you, who may find themselves in this situation, right, where their child says to them, college was your plan, right? It's not my plan. I want to do X, Y, Z. And I'm sure this is a very common conversation in households around the country. So is there any advice that you would give to kind of parents who find themselves in the situation that you found yourself in?
Well, absolutely. And first you want to make sure at an early age you're exposing your child to that. Them sitting at home, on their cell phones and not really, being involved in the community, interacting with their peers. That's not going to pour anything into them. So make sure that you expose them. And then sometimes, typically at the elementary level, they're being exposed to different things. By the time they get to middle school, they're kind of deciding on what they have more interest in. And then by the time they get to high school, by 9th grade, you should see something develop where, okay, well, maybe this could be a career pathway for them. Now, does it always work that way? No, not necessarily. But you always want to continue, and exposure is good. Exposure is even good for us as educators, just to be able to do the job that we do. But as a parent, you want to continue to expose your child to that, and to different things that they may have shown an interest in. And then you want to continue to collaborate, create the plan. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. You got to create the plan. Now, it's one thing, as a parent, sometimes we do that. Well, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. This is my plan for you. And this, no. You have to collaborate, talk to ask them what they want it to look like. And sometimes they may say, I don't know, mama, I don't know, dad, or I don't know, grandmother, I don't know what that is. But that's when you start having those conversations and not just conversations where you're just sitting around the house at the dinner table. And then sometimes you may even need to bring in other people that can kind of, that your child may look up to, things like that. So collaborate with the plan. And once you start seeing that take form and shape, sometimes we have to nudge and push a little bit, but once but once you do that, allow them to allow them to drive their own car or their plan to success. You want to allow them to do that. You got to give them room to do that. And just, and as a parent, sometimes we don't want to let them see them fall or stumble. We right there to try. And I'm so guilty of that. I do that now. I have to say, Sheba, move back and move,
Yeah.
Do that. And the beauty in that, if you've done those things, like expose them to different things, allow them to create their plan, allow them to have a voice for themselves, then they'll walk it. They'll walk it. It just won't look like the way you wanted it to look, but they'll walk it. They'll do it. But we, as parents, we have to allow them to do that and just stay in their corner. They'll remember those things and those skills that they picked up along the way.
I like that. So, and that really fits into what I was saying with my parents series, is that you got to expose them first. That's the first thing, expose them to something. And he has a passion for dance like you did. And so that's the exposure part of it, right? Mm-hmm. And then you said, make sure that you can collaborate with them, right? Absolutely. So that's one of my things. The collaborative college preparatory process is one of my
so
things.
Important.
Yeah. So collaborating. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? And this platform that you have right here, Brannon, is just so awesome, because I'm just thinking about, as a student, we didn't have opportunities to just go online and, to be connected directly with, I know we talked about a little earlier, identifying with a support system or people that can help you. Boom, it's right here. They got access to information. So platforms like this are very helpful as well.
Yeah, I think so. You got to do, like you said before, you got to do the research, right? And this is a part of that research process, right? Mm-hmm. You got to sit down and make sure that you do everything that you can to put yourself in a better position. And then lastly, you said, let them drive their own car to success, their own plan
to success. Yes,
drive their own plan to success, right? I think my mom did that, right? For me, and what you're saying kind of reminds me of your sermon. So TD Jakes has a sermon about the turtle and the giraffe, right? And so the difference being that the giraffe can see further than the turtle can only see what's in front of them. In this scenario, the student is the turtle, right? And the parent is the giraffe, right? So there are things that parents can see further down because they've had experiences, they've gone through it, they've learned from it, and they're trying to kind of impart in the child things that are going to help them along the way. And the turtle is only going to see what's in front of them. So that's the gist of the sermon. But I'm taking from this conversation that we're having that there may be some things that the turtle can see that the giraffe cannot, because they're so high, right? So I'm taking that. I'm taking that. There may be some things, some opportunities, some resources, some jobs, some funds, like you said, right? That might not be the traditional route that will allow them to do everything they want to do and be in a successful place without taking the traditional route. So I'm taking that from you. I'm taking that from you today.
Yes, yeah. And I know we talked about the giraffe. Our exposure as giraffes or parents is totally different than what it would look like for our students. And literally that's the generation and age that we live in now. Everything is right in front of them. It wouldn't like that so much for us. So, that's their reality. So we gotta learn how to, navigate, in their reality if we're going to be able to reach them. I know that's important.
Yeah. I think this is huge. I think I could create a whole series on this topic, because there are a lot of parents who are really trying to find out what they can do for their child who's in different types of situations, right? But for your child just said, hey, that's not what I want to do. I want to do this. And you said you saw the checks, right?
I started like, well, maybe let's look at this a little different.
Well, as long as he's successful and be able to provide for himself and he's doing what he wants to do, I call that a success, right? I call it a success, right? Yes. So that's cool. So I like it. I like your strategies. I think the parents are going to get something out of this. I appreciate you, sharing your story and talking about, what your experience was like at home. And it's unique, like I said, because you're a counselor, right? Yeah. That's your job. You are to help students progress to the next level. Right. And it's interesting to see kind of what your experience was as a mom.
Yeah, I definitely had to, I had to change those hats and, it's just funny, when he and I having those conversations, and of course he knows what I do by profession. He was like, "Mom, you're talking to me like I'm one of your students. I'm not. I'm your son." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I say, now you're doing reverse psychology on me. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. But that's a lesson for you as a parent too, though. Right?
Absolutely. And it helps me as a counselor, even when I'm dealing with parents and I'm dealing with students. I have to kind of put myself in their shoes sometimes to really understand and be able to give them those best tools and resources and advise them the best way.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so let's do this. So this is the parent's perspective, but I know I'm going to talk to you about being a counselor. So for those individuals who are listening and want to get more information, how can they learn from you or get more information or reach out to you? How can they contact you? Because they found you on this episode.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me at Coffee with Counselor Maxie. That's all lowercase, all one word, Coffee with Counselor Maxie.
And that's Maxie. All right, I like that. So thank you so much for your story today. I really appreciate it. I know you added value to some parents today.
I hope so. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So if you're listening and you like what you're hearing and you want to learn more, you can find more information on my website at collegereadiness101.com. You can subscribe to this podcast on your favorite streaming platform or YouTube channel. And you can follow me on social media at collegereadiness101.com. At College Readiness 101 on Instagram and Facebook. And you can look for and purchase your copy of the College Bound Parent Series to help you navigate through this process for your family. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you next time.